Good afternoon. Today's video is going to deal with chemical bonding. So, first question we might want to ask is, why atoms react with each other? To answer this, we first need to review the structure of the atom. If you recall, atoms are mostly space. They have electrons orbiting a nucleus that's composed of protons, neutrons. The electrons just don't go anywhere. They're located in these shells or orbits. And that's shell 1, that's shell 2, that's shell 3, and we actually go up to shell 4 in our discussion. Shell 1 can hold a maximum of 2 electrons. Shell 2, 3, 4 can all hold 8. When we're making Bohr-Rutherford models of atoms, we always fill in order, starting from the shell number 1 and working our way out, and every shell must be filled before we go to the next shell. So, why do atoms react? Well, if we saw with the sodium, this is a Lewis dot diagram, and Lewis dot diagrams always show are the outer valence electrons. So sodium has one outer valence shell electron, but this shell can hold 8. So sodium is an unhappy guy. He only has 1 electron. He wants an outer shell that's full. The octet rule states that all atoms want a full valence shell, so they can either give them up, take them, or share them. And we're going to look at all 3 cases. Our first example, what happens when you react a metal and a nonmetal? So if we take sodium, which has 1 valence shell electron, and react it with, say, fluorine, which has 7 valence shell electrons, what happens is the fluorine atom will attract sodium's single valence shell electron and strip it away, leaving a positively charged sodium ion and a negatively charged fluorine, which is now called fluoride. So this is sodium fluoride. This is a cation, this is an anion. And notice, and now the octet rule is complete. Sodium's outer shell is now its second shell, which has 8 electrons, and its fluoride's outer shell is now full with 8 electrons, so everyone's happy. And this is an example of an ionic bond, which is the electrostatic attraction between 2 ions. And in this example, one atom loses electrons, in the other example, the other atom takes them. So our next example will be one of sharing. So carbon has 4 valence shell electrons. What happens when it comes into contact with hydrogen? Carbon doesn't have a nucleus which can fully strip hydrogen of its 1 electron. So what happens, instead of forming an ion, the carbon and hydrogen will share the electron pair. And in this case, both electrons count towards the valence shell of both atoms. So if we react 4 hydrogens with a single carbon, you end up with this. And carbon now thinks it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It has 8 electrons in its valence shell because it's counting the 4 from the 4 different hydrogens. And each hydrogen thinks it has 2 electrons in its valence shell because it's counting 1 of its own and 1 of the carbons. And this is an example of a covalent or molecular bond, and it occurs between nonmetals. Thank you very much for watching.